History is written by the survivors, but the truth lies in the dust. This is where the legends hide.
In this video, you'll see how a teenage Confederate guerrilla became the most wanted outlaw in American history. You'll see the first train robbery that shocked the entire country. You'll see a 16-year manhunt involving detectives, railroad companies, and even the governor of Missouri. And you'll see how the man who finally killed him wasn't a lawman at all. He was a member of James's own gang. But before the legend, before the bounty, before his face was on wanted posters across the entire country, Jesse James was just a farm boy caught in the middle of a war that tore his home apart.
Jesse Woodson James was born in 1847 on a farm in Missouri, a state torn apart by pro-slavery and anti-slavery violence even before the Civil War officially began. When war broke out, Jesse and his older brother Frank joined a Confederate guerrilla group known for brutal, unconventional warfare. Ambushes, raids, and attacks that blurred the line between soldier and outlaw.
When the war ended, most soldiers went home and tried to rebuild their lives. Jesse James did the opposite. In February 1866, a group of armed men robbed a bank in Liberty, Missouri, one of the first peacetime bank robberies in American history. The gang escaped with over $60,000 and shot an innocent bystander during their getaway. While never proven in court, Jesse James and his former guerrilla companions were immediately suspected. It was only the beginning. Over the next several years, banks across multiple states would fall victim to the same fast, violent, and disciplined style of robbery. In 1873, the James Younger gang did something no one had dared before. They derailed and robbed a moving train. The tactic was so shocking, so cinematic, that newspapers across the country couldn't stop writing about it. To railroad companies, Jesse James was a criminal, costing them fortunes. To struggling farmers who resented the railroads, he was starting to look like something else entirely. A hero. And that reputation would soon make him almost impossible to catch. Sympathetic newspaper editors began printing stories that painted Jesse James as a modern-day Robin Hood, a man striking back against the powerful railroad companies and banks that many rural Missourians despised. Whether or not he ever actually shared his stolen money with the poor remains disputed by historians, but the myth spread faster than the truth ever could. And that myth gave him something even more valuable than money: protection. The Pinkerton National Detective Agency was hired to track down the gang, but Jesse James always seemed to be one step ahead. In 1875, Pinkerton agents raided the James family farm, and an explosive device thrown into the house killed Jesse's young half-brother and badly injured his mother. Public opinion, already divided, shifted even further in Jesse's favor.
The state of Missouri had had enough. A massive bounty was placed on his head, dead or alive.
In 1876, an attempted bank robbery in Northfield, Minnesota went catastrophically wrong. Armed townspeople fought back, and most of the gang was killed or captured. Jesse and Frank barely escaped with their lives. The legendary James Younger gang was effectively finished.
But Jesse James didn't retire. He rebuilt with men he could no longer fully trust.
For the next few years, Jesse James lived quietly under a false name in St. Joseph, Missouri, trying to plan one final robbery with a new group of accomplices. Among them were two brothers, Charlie and Robert Ford. Jesse trusted Robert Ford enough to let him stay in his home.
That trust would be the fatal mistake of his life. On April 3rd, 1882, inside his own living room, Jesse James climbed onto a chair to straighten a picture frame on the wall, setting down his weapons, as he always did at home, to avoid raising suspicion. Robert Ford drew his revolver and shot him in the back of the head. Jesse James died instantly,
betrayed by a man he had welcomed into his own home for a reward the governor of Missouri had promised. The killer expected to be treated as a hero. Instead, what happened next revealed just how deeply divided the country's feelings about Jesse James truly were.
Robert Ford was initially charged with murder before receiving a pardon from the governor, but he was never able to escape the reputation that followed him for the rest of his life, remembered in songs and stories as the dirty little coward who shot Jesse James. Jesse himself, meanwhile, became one of the most mythologized figures in American history, part outlaw, part folk hero, part symbol of a country still divided long after the Civil War had officially ended.
If you want to see more real stories from the deadliest men of the American frontier, the next video in this playlist is waiting for you right now. Subscribe to Old West Untold and ride along.